All right, here we go. Here's an interview that nobody thought was ever gonna happen.
Ever.
Vlad and Wack100.
I'm here, baby. I'm here.
You know, we saw some pictures of you in the game interview about a week ago.
Yeah.
You know, so people already know that we rock with each other now, but we're actually doing the real sit down.
Definitely.
First time here. I want to start in the very beginning. So you grew up in Pacoima.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's in the Valley.
Yes, sir.
Your parents, you grew up with mom and dad or just mom?
Both.
Okay.
Well, you know, you could call both, you know, the typical household of the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. I say early 90s. Well, early 90s I was gone. You know, you got the mother and you got the father that's on drugs. So you just growing up.
Mm-hmm. So your dad, was he on drugs the whole time or did it come later?
I can remember probably to about 5 years old. So you figure probably like from 82, I can remember Pops on drugs. 82 to probably about 96. But at 96, I'd already been in prison a couple years.
Okay.
With the prison young.
Did you know what your dad was on?
Cocaine, crack.
Well, crack came later.
No, crack came in the 80s.
Well, the mid-80s, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, you figure you got the typical party drugs, the powder, the marijuana. But when the crack hit, I understood it because my father was really one of the guys in the area who was a go-to guy to get their drugs. So what it was people doing powder, which was a party recreational drug. It was no big deal. They were doing pills back then, you know, Red Devils and Yellow Jackets, no big deal. So when this new drug came called crack, they're like, oh, it was cocaine. But when you hit that, it took you someplace to where you wasn't coming back. From my understanding, he was like, it kept you chasing the first high, but you would never get it again, but you would think the next one was going to be it. So it kept you hooked. Yeah.
I mean, when crack hit Pacoima, did you see a difference start to happen?
Hell yeah, you see the difference start to happen. I mean, it was a different with everything. You seen the increase with guys starting to have materialistic things. You can't really say the things I know about today because people wasn't buying the real estate. They wasn't fixing up the houses. They was, you know, they have a Mercedes-Benz in a Section 8 house with a Section 8 driveway.
Yeah.
Right? So you start to see the jury and you hear the loud music but you see your homeboy's mama in the alley. You know what I mean? So it was give and take. And it became a way of life of how to survive. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everyone I talked to that was around, regardless of where it was, you know, would always talk about how much more money suddenly started showing up in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
And then with the money came the higher level of ammunition. You know, first people just had little handguns or whatever, and then people had AKs and Uzis and everything else. Because people had money to start buying this type of stuff, and the drug war started to escalate.
Yeah, well, you got to realize that the money that was recycled amongst the neighborhood was the government-funded money. Every now and then you get what we call a closet smoker. That's somebody that works. That's a functioning crackhead. You know, they can work and function. So their money was coming from, you know, where they worked at. But majority of the money was the first and the 15th, the welfare checks. And, you know, but who was being deprived? The kids.
Yeah.
And the households.
Yeah.
And guess what the kids started doing? Selling crack to get the money.
Right. Sometimes to their own parents.
Exactly.
Yep. You know, I have drug addicts, crack addicts in my family. So I firsthand saw the effects of the type of thing that would happen. It was horrific. The stories I've heard, I can't repeat.
Yeah, I seen it all.